Eta Enange now joins us to offer his thoughts on the impending head-on between the Senate and state governors over the issue of local government autonomy in Nigeria. Good morning, Senator, and many thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Very well.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Well, so the Senate last week, Wednesday, accused state governors of misappropriating funds allocated to local government councils in Nigeria. They have now called on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to immediately stop the allocation of funds to caretaker committee-led local government areas, because they say, the governors are misappropriating local government funds, and, they force these local government chairmen to sign off checks while giving them, meager amounts as running costs. But some people would disagree as well. I mean, especially the governors. But for you, I'd like to know, how do you think this, full autonomy for local governments will, reduce misappropriation? Are you sure that it will reduce misappropriation of funds? And what is the guarantee that empowering these local governments will improve challenges in insecurity, for example?
The Senate has not even done enough. And this is not the first time the National Assembly is taking this decision. The House of Representatives, the Senate, in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and now the 10th Senate have expressed concern over this and have expressed various views as to what could be done in ensuring that the local governments are autonomous. And of course, the governors, with the greatest respect to them, my colleagues, most of them were my colleagues in the House, colleagues in the Senate, and party members and leaders. The collapse of the economy, the collapse of the Naira, the general fall of the challenges of Nigeria is caused by the governors. And I challenge them to prove me wrong. First, the way they use the funds of the judiciary, when the funds are sent for the judiciary, they take it at their own. And when they go to buy a Toyota to the judges, they will line them out to come and collect, and they will announce that they have given car to the judges. Whereas it is the funds of the judiciary that they have used in giving money, in buying the things to the judiciary, and they say, I have given to the judiciary. They will take the funds of the legislature and give something to the legislature. They say, I have given cars. I will give car after 2 years of their swearing in to all the members of the House of Assembly. Meanwhile, it is the money of the House of Assembly. Now, meanwhile, again, they will go to the local government, take the funds of the local government, and use the funds of the local government for themselves, by themselves. And they will say, I have given this to the local government. Mr. President and the National Assembly should go very far, the extent that President Buhari went in ensuring first, perhaps an executive order, although Mr. President, Emeritus President, issued Executive Order 10, which the governors challenged over the judiciary. And then I, as Secretary of the Presidential Committee on Autonomy of State Legislature and State Judiciary, what we did was, when the governors took us to court, Malami, the Emeritus Attorney General, was the chairman, and I, the Secretary. When they challenged us to the Supreme Court over Executive Order 10, which proposed the setting up of Funds Allocation Committee, made up of the Commissioner for Finance, the Clerk of the House of Assembly, the Registrar, the State Registrar of the State High Court and of the various tiers of court, and so on. We now went to the National Assembly and caused that to be inserted in the 5th Amendment to the Constitution, and so it becomes a constitutional issue, which is now at least 60 to 70% implemented by the state government. Now, the National Assembly should proceed to that level of ensuring that the state joint account is further segmented in the nature and character that we have at the judiciary level and the legislature level, where they set up a funds disbursement committee and then go into the details as to if money is due to the House of Assembly and to the judiciary, it goes into their account as soon as the federation allocation and internal revenue generated is known. So the state government, the National Assembly should go very far, Now, I also give, the governors have been a very big problem because even if you go to the Niger Delta and the oil-producing states, the money that is meant for the 13% allocation that is meant for the development of the oil-producing areas, the governors will take it as their own. They will use it for what they want. They will use it for irrelevant things. I want to apologize. In fact, I won't apologize again. They will use it for things that are not relevant to making peace in the oil communities. They would use it in manners that do not allow the federal government to realize the kind of revenue it should realize from oil drilled in those areas. They will not give anything or something substantial or reasonable to the oil-producing areas, oil-producing communities, to allow there to be peace so that we can realize revenue from crude oil. So the governors have to be brought again to the table by, I think they have to go beyond the National Economic Council, by the president. And the president shouldn't be afraid of issuing executive orders, even if they will take him to court, as they did. They take us to court and President Buhari to court over Executive Order 10, which has now translated into constitutional amendment. So the more we allow the governors to operate as different government on themselves, yes, they are government on themselves. Yes, we have the kind of democracy that allows a measure of government to the governors, independence to the governors. It is the economy will keep going down because it is not just what the federal government spends and realizes and spends that causes inflation or challenges the economy. It is what the entire 3 tiers of government has and spends. And when the federal government spends its money reasonably, according to law, and the state government spends their money unreasonably against the law and against the people's interest, the totality of it will lead to inflation, collapse of our currency, challenge of other areas of the economy. So the National Assembly should go farther than that.
Senator Enange, I just want to know what you mean by these governors are using the money on irrelevant things. I mean, your accusation of, the governors are the sole contributors of, causing the Naira collapse. I'd like for you to expatiate on that. And what are they spending on that is causing this inflation that you talk about?
Now, I will not say they are the sole. No, they have the highest contribution to inflation and to the problem that we have in the economy. Now, when money comes in, it has been alleged and it has been proved in several areas that whenever allocation is received by the state government, and which includes the money for the government of the state, the money for the judiciary of the state, money for the legislature of the state, money for the local government of the state, and money for oil-producing areas of the state, the governors will have it take it as their own. They become oga over all the entire funds, and immediately go to history, go to economic indices, the economy indices. Immediately that comes in, much of this money will be used in buying dollars at whatever rate. I'm sure most of the things that are revealing now against most of the governors or former governors who are now being charged and tried, the extent to which they use dollars, will reveal that it is the totality of this that leads to the challenge of the Naira against the dollar. Again, most of them will say they have taken loan. They have taken loan and they pledge the statutory allocation of the state as security for the loan instead of pledging the project and what is to be realized from the project as the means and the source from which the loan will be paid. All this will contribute to the challenge of the naira. And then the governors have also collapsed governance at the local government level. So they have made the local government chairmen, even we call them caretaker committees, to just behave as conduit. When allocation comes, they will go to the state joint account. Whatever the chairman of local government or the chairman of the commissioner for local government affairs or whoever is the chairman of the land account gives to them, they will collect. But they will sign the full implication that they have collected all. Meanwhile, they cannot account for all. It has not entered the account. They just settle, quote unquote, the supervisors, the councillors, and so on. And everybody, they keep quiet. In my language, they say, mu, 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 mu. That is, keep quiet. Let nothing be heard of you. And they will force the governor, the local government, to go on radio and say that they have collected the money. If you don't, just like what is alleged to be happening in Plateau State, where the governor is alleged, and I say for the third time, alleged, to have asked APC lawmakers-elect that before they are sworn in, they must sign a letter, an undated letter of resignation, so that any day they want to challenge the governor, they will just bring out it and then swear affidavit. And this is done, the courts are even said to be complicit, as I said, or alleged, by saying that, look, this is an affidavit sworn. So they force them to say they have collected, meanwhile they have not collected. So the governors are the very serious cause of the challenge of the economy. And yet the governors will have the strength to stand up and accuse the president to do something about the economy. Meanwhile, they are the agents of the collapse of the challenge to the economy, challenge to our currency, and challenge to transparency. I want the Nigeria Financial Intelligence Agency, NFIU, Nigeria Financial Intelligence Unit as it were, to come up again with what it started under President Buhari's administration, where it went in to get the intelligence and ensure that funds that are meant for the local government are pulled through a special account. And I want the National Assembly, as it is sitting on constitutional amendment, to again come up with more ingenious ways, just as we did under the Presidential Implementation Committee on Autonomy of State Judiciary and State Legislature, so that they can impute this into detailed amendments of the Constitution. And Mr. President, has taken democracy from June 12, from 1992 to 1993, from even abhorring to choose presidential candidates of his party, as it were, and waiting for the appropriate time as this. He has endured much. He has given much to democracy. He should take the bold step of withholding the monies of local governments that are not democratically elected, and withhold the monies of every local government every state that the governors have not opened an account and paid the money directly, and cause the governors and the treasurers of the local government to be signatories to this account, should withhold their money and cause account to be opened into which the funds of the local government will be sent exclusively to those accounts, and monitor at every level that it is those local governments that spends their money. Mr. President should not keep taking the blame that, oh, this is not done well, this is not, the economy is having challenge in this direction, having challenge in this direction. Because if each of the 768 local governments, if each of the 768 local governments and the 6 area councils of the Federal Capital Territory receive their money directly, go into agriculture, manage their education, manage other aspects of their economy, produce at that level with the governors, with the chairman of local government taking responsibility, there will be a sharp, quick, miraculous rise in the economy, in production, in agriculture. And then the economy will, from that local government level, added to what productivity at the state government level, added to the productivity at the local government level and the ministry, department, and agencies at the federal government level, we will have a quicker recovery than where we have than this present situation, where the governors are not acting as emperors. They have not assumed the role of emperors. They have become emperors. And
all right, Senator.
And in fact,
yeah,
they have become to the economy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator Eta Enange. The words that you have used are very witty indeed. Emperor. But a lot of people will wonder that in a presidential system of government like the type that we run, people think that it is the president that is actually the emperor. But now you are saying that the governors are the emperors and that they should be blamed for the ills of the society. So I'm wondering how come that a president of Nigeria that most people think is probably one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful president anywhere in the world, will find it so difficult as former President Buhari found it to deal with the issue of the autonomy bill for local government. So my question to you is, what do you think that a President Bola Ahmed Tinubu can do differently from what Buhari did, given the fact that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was once a governor like Goodluck Jonathan? And people might argue that while he was a governor, what role did he play in ensuring that local governments under him were free and autonomous? And then secondly, what thoughts do you have on the fact that not just governors, but also lawmakers in states at the houses of assembly, majority of which have refused to sign, to pass the bill, the autonomy bill for local government into law? Only about 11 states out of 36 have passed it. So it isn't only governors. It is also about the fact that local lawmakers at the state level are either in collusion with the governors or they do not, know what they are doing because there's an autonomy bill for the local government. What do you say to that? Or you also think that it is the governors influencing the state houses of assembly under them?
In fact, by your last conclusion, you have answered the question. You answered part of the question. That I was a member of the State House of Assembly. And I know that after us, there has almost been no State House of Assembly in the country, other than that you have in Lagos, and you then had in Plateau, you had in Delta, you had in a few other states. I think we had in Katsina, where they could stand up and act themselves. Now, you've asked whether the president is not the most powerful president in the world or around. In Nigeria, the president of Nigeria does not exercise 15%. And I am conscious that the president of Nigeria does not exercise 15% of the powers that the governors in the respective states exercise. One, because the presidents have been very responsible. Second, the National Assembly is independent. The National Assembly can take on the president. The National Assembly, not take on, the National Assembly can disagree with the president. Now, one thing that a lot of persons have come to realize, and the legislature realizes, and now acts a lot better sometimes, is that when you have a bill or any measure, it is a proposal by a minister or a parastatal. And that proposal, the president will say, okay, I am just one person. He may just present before the Federal Executive Council. It is passed and forwarded to the legislature. The National Assembly ought to take that bill as it is just a proposal, which they have to consider and pass or reject. But sometimes the legislature considers that, look, it's coming from the president, so it has to pass, which is wrong. Now, the extent to which the National Assembly scrutinizes appropriation, the extent to which the National Assembly questions the ministers, the extent to which they question the ministers and the heads of ministries, departments, and agencies, even the security agencies, and on many matters which makes those agencies responsive and responsible to civil democratic authority, being the legislature and again the presidency. None of that happens at the state level. None of that. You will see, take for instance, the House of Assembly of every state. Have they ever debated the provisions and the submissions of the president, of the governors of the state submitted to them. No. Sometimes they just lay it in the envelope and they say those in favor aye, and they do aye, and then that passes. They don't even read what is there. I had occasion to to make a presentation on the question of the House of Assembly of Akwa Ibom State. And I told the House of Assembly of Akwa Ibom State that, look, I even asked, where is the votes and proceedings of the budget and the laws you passed? They don't have. Go to Benue State. There is a law that was passed in Benue State on the Benue State Internal Revenue Service, increasing or reducing the tenure of the chairman of the Benue State Internal Revenue Service. Till today, you cannot find the argument, the bill, even what was passed by the House of Assembly of Benue State. And I challenged them. I challenged Benue State House of Assembly to produce its votes and proceedings of most of the bills that have been passed. And I challenge each of the houses of assembly, except Lagos. Except Lagos. And I say except Lagos, that can produce the votes and proceedings showing what was laid before them to consider, showing what they have considered, showing what we call the Hansard, the debate, showing what there was eventually passed, and showing what was transmitted to the governor for assent. They don't have, unlike the National Assembly, which you have each and every one of them step by step. So where you have a legislature of this nature in each of the 36 local governments, each of the 36 states, and the governors not having anybody or any person to check them, not responsible to any person, taking loans and using it the way they want, taking loans and not thinking of how to repay, taking loans and making only what they will receive from their allocation from oil to be the security for repayment, the economy will still have to go down. The governors then are emperors. The government against the funds of the local government, funds of the legislature of the state, funds of the judiciary of the state, funds of the development institutions of the state, like the 13% derivation. So it is the governors that are responsible for the challenge of the economy, and then they will point one finger at the federal level while four fingers are facing the governors. So unless the National Assembly is able to take the bold step that it took over the legislature and the judiciary, their funds and funding, and they should be bold enough. They should be bold enough. I have always worked with them. I've often worked with them on the constitutional amendment process, and we still will work with them to ensure, just as we did in the fifth amendment to the Constitution, which has ensured the entrenchment of the process and procedure for sharing the funds between the federal government and the state. So the governors have to do that. And President Tinubu, sometimes you have to breach the rule. Sometimes you have to. And of course, you had the question. President Tinubu was the governor. What did he do? He took it heavily against President Obasanjo, seeking the autonomy of the states to handle the local government matters and sending funds to the local government. If you hear and go to the history, between 1999 and 2007, when Governor Bola Ahmed Tinubu was, and you look at the history of the relationship between them, between the governor then and President Obasanjo, as he then was, and then the creation of the development areas in Lagos State, he took the bull by the horn and made sure that he did what he thought the local government ought to be autonomous, and that was a kudo. That was a great kudos to him. He created the LCDAs and was able to fund them. And of course, you remember, funds of the Lagos State was withheld and was not released to Governor Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as he then was, now President Tinubu, g0vern. He weathered it. He should be able to take very hard decisions, even if it means taking on the governors in whatever level. After all, the governors have always taken up on the presidency and the federal level on many matters affecting the revenue. It should take them on to allow and the local government to be autonomous, to send their monies to them. You know what we did at the Presidential Implementation Committee on the autonomy of state judiciary and state legislature. I, as the secretary of the committee, we had meetings with the state registrars of the states judiciary, and we obtained the account numbers of the judiciary of the different states, and we wrote to the Accountant General of the Federation and gave the account numbers of the different state judiciaries and the state houses of assembly for them to pay the money of the states into. While we were about to get that fixed and the money to be directly deducted at the federal level by Ahmed, the then Accountant General, into the funds of those state judiciaries and state legislatures, they took us to the Supreme Court, and we were asked to hold on. And when they had it on us, we now had to proceed to the National Assembly to get all the provisions of Executive Order 10, which we proposed, into the Constitution, and now it is easier. So they should adopt that process so that we can get out of the challenge of the economy which the governors of the 36 states have caused Nigeria.
All right. Again, as we begin to wrap and briefly, because I'll go back to my question again, which you haven't answered, because, like we've said, the Senate is asking for changes in the Constitution, that will enshrine and guarantee genuine independence. Earlier, you presented a scenario whereby governors may force these local governments to say that they have collected money to carry out projects. Meanwhile, they haven't. But isn't this an indictment on the local government? I mean, were they held under duress? Because it appears that they are, in some sort of collusion with the governors. What will make them act differently when they have full autonomy? I'll grant them, control over their resources and decision making and all of that. What will be the difference?
What will make them act differently is if we are able to amend the Constitution to allow the Independent National Electoral Commission at the federal level to conduct election into local governments. Therefore, so if that is not done, and the election of the local government are still conducted by the state government, the nominations are still conducted by the state government, and each state government, if it is Labour, all the Labour candidates will win the local government election. If it is our APC, it is all the APC candidates will win the election. If it is the PDP, the PDP as it is, or as it should be, if it is PDP, all the PDP candidates of the local government, of the elections, in the local government election will win. It is if you can guarantee by way of ensuring that they emerge by democratic process that is detected and managed by at the federal level. But that will need to be amendment of the Constitution to remove the functions of the state independent electoral commissions. Difficult that will be, because the governors in their emperor status will not allow the houses of assembly to pass. I respect the House of Assembly. I respect the state legislature. But I'm sorry to say that they are still meant to act, and they are still acting as if they were a parastatal of the state government. They are unable to be independent because of the weight of breathing down that the governors do on the state legislature, on the respective members and the speakers, the deputy speakers, and the leadership of the respective houses. Again, there is something which I will be proposing to the National Assembly. The question of how legislatures are to assume their seat. How legislators are to assume their seat when they have their certificate of return. Because the governors even have the power they don't have the power, but they have the strength, because power means it is allowed by the Constitution. But strength means it is not about not allowed by the Constitution, but you just exercise it knowing that nobody will question it. Now, to cause and disallow a person who is entitled to be sworn in not to be sworn in. And when your legislator sees that, you will call back yourself and then be unable to act the way you should act. So a lot of things needs to be done to allow the legislature at the state level to enjoy at least 30 or 50% of the autonomy, powers, and strength that the National Assembly is enjoying at the federal level. And of course, the governors should please learn from the president. Every president from 1999, they have been very, very constitutional in their actions, knowing that the National Assembly is independent and can question them. We should try to allow them to be at that level. So you cannot have an independent legislature at that level, an independent local government, when the method of their emergence as a chairman will, and the governor can dissolve you at any time and set up caretaker committee, and the caretaker committee it could be infinitum. It doesn't have end tenure, and if you don't behave well, they simply remove you. So you can't have autonomy at that level unless there is constitutional amendment that streamlines this and gives the chairman of local government some strength. Thank you very much.
All right, Senator Eta Enange, I'd like to thank you very much.